Hello, I'm Abbie Black, and this is the backstory of how San Diego police and fire departments work together to respond to wildfires. We're going to talk about how their response has changed and continues to change to help save more homes and save lives. San Diego was the backdrop for some of the deadliest, most destructive fires in California history until the Palisades and Eaton fires killed a combined 29 people in Los Angeles County last year. Now let's go back to 2003. That's the Cedar Fire. It killed 15 people and burned nearly 275,000 acres. It burned 13% of San Diego County's landmass. Let's take a look at some of our coverage from that day.
This fire, obviously, we know it started in the middle of the night. We can understand why people who may be just waking up with us may not know what's going on at this point. There were two brush fires that started, one in Valley Center and the other one in your area in Ramona. They're calling it the Cedar Fire. Two fires, San Diego, that we're following right now. Dan Cohen in the Local 8 newsroom, good morning. Just want to say that first and foremost. The Cedar Fire is huge at this point. It's 6,000 acres already. We know that homes have been destroyed. We know that the evacuations have already taken place. We've had news photographers and news crews on the way, but we've had news photographers there all night. We are watching some absolutely amazing video. I don't say amazing because it's good. This is not a good thing, San Diego.
There is an unofficial report that it may have been started by a hunter who was trying to build a signal fire, possibly doing that by firing a weapon. It was a lost hunter is the story that we are getting, and of course that is under investigation.
We do have reporters that are trying to get as close to the scene as they can, and our Carlo Cicchetto is out there live. Carlo, tell us where you are.
I'm in Eucalyptus Hills, Beth, just above the 67. It's an eerie scene here. It looks like a burnt out war zone, to be honest with you. There are several homes, as you can see, in flames right now. Some have already burnt out.
I've been in the business 45 years. This is the worst fire conditions I've ever fought fire in. We got a massive fire, Santa Ana conditions, burning multiple houses. We got multiple burn victims, and this is the third fatality I've seen this morning.
You guys like have homeowners insurance or anything?
You know
like
something? The funny thing is, we canceled it about 6-7 months ago.
My house was all lit up like we were just living in it. We were getting ready to go to bed. Yeah. We just took showers and he's like, it's here. We felt the heat. We seen things melting, and I look over. My door was open. I had to go back and close it, and then right when I went to go back and close it, I seen the corner, and it was going. It was a flame.
I was exposed to the fire. I couldn't see, rolled backwards.
I think Tom went to go get some help.
And then we got stuck.
As I look over my shoulder here, it's really hot and smoky. I would say 200 yards away.
At this time is a mandatory evacuation of the houses. Please back up what you can get in there within 5 minutes and get out of here. Thank you.
Okay.
Enough said.
John, we're going to let you get out of there.
John, heed the warning, get out of there.
Thank you.
That is our John Steinbaugh in the Scripps Ranch area. Mandatory evacuations now with this rapidly moving fire.
These are pictures shot earlier today from the Scripps Ranch area, the hardest hit area today, where at least 150 homes have been destroyed.
Just a totally dark day here in San Diego. We've been talking to you, many of you, all day long. We've been the eyes and ears for many people who have been forced to leave their homes. Some people didn't want to leave, forced to leave, mandatory evacuations. Good thing some of them did, because what you just saw, some of those pictures, that is all that's left of some people's homes. And many people tonight don't know the status of whether their home is still intact or whether it has been completely turned into rubble.
Gosh, 23 years later, and it's still just devastating. Today, I have with me Assistant Chief Dan Eddy of the San Diego Fire Rescue Department and Lieutenant Kevin Wadhams from the San Diego Police Department. Thank you so much for joining us today. I mean, you both were there and responding. Walk us through the Cedar Fire response.
Go ahead.
For me, I was a fairly new officer, so I was just tasked with going door to door and checking for spot fires. Back then, it's a lot different than it is now as far as how we do business with fire departments. So for me, I was given a task and go out there and do it. And now we're a lot more organized and have really good relationship with our fire partners.
Yeah, I would say for myself, I was a newer firefighter, about 3 or 4 years on at the time, and I got put on a strike team. We got assigned out to Scripps Ranch right away when we were getting there, and same thing, wall of flame. I remember sitting there having that little, big belly fear when I saw it. Being a newer firefighter, I'd never seen anything like that. It's funny, though, I do remember one of the chiefs telling me, hey, kid, you're never going to see anything like this again, right? And then the next thing, a couple years later, we have another one with the witch or the Wahito. But we were tasked with Scripps Ranch area also with multiple other strike teams trying to get together and get after the fire.
I mean, I think with every wildfire, you can debrief and you can look back at what was done well and what you can change. But when we're thinking about this is 23 years later, I feel like when we see these fires happening, they're out pretty fast. And I think a lot of that has to do with communication. And when we look at what has changed and what has evolved, it's probably communication. The climate has changed, which may even make it more challenging. And then technology. So, for example, 2 weeks ago, we had the Sorrento fire, and that was near homes that prompted evacuation orders. People were really scared. They walk us through the logistics and, tell us how that fire, what was a good example of how police and the fire worked together and collaborated to make sure that it was put out successful.
I'll start on that one. I'll say from the fire perspective, as we came in, we had actually had a fire there 20 years ago in that same exact spot.
Wow.
That I had been on when I was a newer firefighter, actually right after the Cedar Fire in that same time zone. And so coming in, it's that same perspective that you see. I say on the fire side of it, the communication has grown immensely since the Cedar Fire. And what we do as an operational area, as a state also run area, and on the PD side of collaboration with PD, it is compared, I will say in the last 20 years, I've never seen such a huge growth in how we communicate with one another. On the Cedar Fire, we were, I'd say, more siloed, and you stayed within what you were doing, whether it be what you thought was a PD perspective or a fire perspective. For us, on the fire side now, on no matter what it is, a fire right away, an Asher event, any sort of thing flooding, we immediately get in with PD right away and start making our groups and deciding what we're going to do as a team, which I think is amazing.
Wadhams.
So same thing. We've evolved, and now I oversee our emergency planning unit. So we have a group of officers that specialize in preparing the department for these types of emergencies. And over the last several years, we trained with the fire department where during the Cedar Fire, that was unheard of. We didn't collaborate with fire. We didn't train with fire. We were our own standalone department that did police business and fire did their business. But now we're one team, and our mission is to make the citizens safe. And with our collaboration, the goal and expectation is we can move faster, communicate better, and protect the citizens of San Diego County.
Because when we're talking about it 23 years later, now we're talking about the climate has changed, the landscape has changed, we have more houses, but then obviously there's a lot more fuel out there as well. How does that impact fire mitigation, but also public safety?
I would say on the fire mitigation, what it does is we have to do way more pre-planning everything that we do. And so because of what we call the WUI, Wildland Urban Interface, where it's in between all the homes, now we have so much home growth, whether it be throughout San Diego County, we have to do much more planning like we do with San Diego PD. Is our drills, we have monthly drills that we do with San Diego PD, and that works on the climate side of it. We look at an area and we pre-plan it based on those topography features, the fuel features, the ingress and features of getting people in and out of that area as quick as we can, like Sorrento. Sorrento, for us, we had a pre-fire plan for that area that we followed, that we worked with them. The moment we got on scene, PD integrates with us right away, and we set up an evacuation group to get things going. And so on that side of it, it helps out for all of us.
All right. Well, I think with that, when we're thinking about 20 years later, that technology has tremendously evolved, and that's really helped in fighting our fires and our public safety. So we're going to talk about that next. Welcome back. We're now talking about technology because when we're thinking about when the Cedar Fires happened back in 2003, it has tremendously evolved since then and has played a big role in this evolution. So let's talk about how tech has evolved with both fire and law enforcement. So Kevin, do you want to go?
Sure. So technology has advanced a lot recently, and one of the primary apps that we as the police department use is called Genesis, and the forward-facing app that I encourage all citizens here to download is the Genesis Protect app. And with that, there's the message of know your zone. So wherever you live, you're in a specific zone, and once you download that app, get familiar with where your zone is at, and it'll show ingress and egress routes. And that is the primary app that we use when we're out with the fire department in a unified command in an evacuation. And fire department has really good fire prediction capabilities. So we work closely to determine what zones need to be either have a evacuation order where it's time to go, or we'll issue a warning, or even shelter in place for certain incidents. So when we determine what areas need to be evacuated, the supervisor on scene out at the fire will push out a message to our communication center, who will then hit the button and send it out to specific areas. And that also goes through the county of San Diego, who oversees our alert and warnings. So I really encourage not only the Genesis Protect app, but also download the Alert SD app. Mm-hmm. And that way everybody can stay up to date with current information. One of the downsides we have is now with social media, we have a lot of people that are not informed on the incident, putting out what they believe is true information. So if you go to those two apps, you're going to be getting accurate and up-to-date information on the event.
Because, I mean, back then it was the door knocks, and you said, well, yes, we still do the door knocks, but it's this fire mapping that can really predict where the fire is going and giving people enough warning ahead of time where it's not too late and it's gridlock in these exit routes.
Correct. And with the Genesis app, it already predetermines ingress and egress routes. So we're not left with the timely decisions of how are we going to get people out. We already have an idea of how we will get people in and out, and that in turn saves lives. And a couple of years ago, the police department went to what's called a high-low siren, and it is only used in case of evacuation orders, not for warning. So if you hear the high-low siren, which is similar to what sirens are used in
tornadoes,
not in tornadoes, but you hear it on movies like in Britain, the high-low siren. It's only allowed for evacuation orders. So if you hear that in your neighborhood, that means it's time to go.
Okay. I think that's really interesting. And as well as kind of become more familiar with the Genesis app now. So when it's not go time, you're, trying to fiddle through it all. I've saved my zones and my phone. I've also set up for the alerts, but for our house, my husband's work, my daughter's school, just so I'm aware for all of those zones.
Yeah, and you'll get that alert that comes to you if you, like you said, sign up and prep yourself, right? Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that we see too is with the Genesis app is we'll give people a warning, and people say, hey, it's a warning, it's 2 miles away from me, why does that matter? Well, the Cedar Fire, we had half a mile ember throw, half a mile to 1 mile ember throw ahead of the fire. So when we're giving these warnings, we really want you to be prepared and ready to go, because it'll be on you in a second. We're not doing it just because we're covering a zone. We're doing it because prediction-wise, it looks like it's going to get there. If we can't get ahead of this fire, it's going to be there before you know it.
And the mapping tools, the technology that you guys can use can predict that that's where it's going.
Absolutely. We have planes that get up in the air right away for us and start predicting where that's going to head. And it can show us mitigation hazards as we go forward. If we don't get it at a certain ridge, we know we're going to lose about 2 more acres, 5 more acres, 2 more miles. It'll give us those predictions right away that help us integrate with PD to say, these are the evacuation areas we need people out of now, right away.
I think, as we've been talking just in this short conversation, it's really about collaboration and how that's evolved. And I think some people don't understand that when they think San Diego police or police, like how does law enforcement play their role in these wildfires? But it's just as critical as well.
Oh, absolutely. We could not do it without PD involved with us. Having that law enforcement element lets us focus on the fire. They can focus on the evacuations for us, for helping with that, with getting ahead of it. And the integration has been amazing. Like I was talking about earlier, just look back at this rental fire last week. Within 2 minutes of getting on scene, we had law enforcement tied in with San Diego Fire, working in a unified command and working on those evacuations right away and getting those warning outs. We didn't have those 10 years ago. We didn't, for sure, 20 years ago when we had the Cedar Fire or more. But even in the last 10 years, the growth of it has been amazing. And without PD's help, we couldn't get that done at all.
Do you guys have a same kind of collaboration with agents, like neighboring agencies as well?
We do. So the communication part has really come a long way. So with our newer radios, we can now communicate with all the different law enforcement agencies in the county, and we can communicate directly with fire. But one thing that we'll do now on a major fire, we will put a police officer in the fire engine.
Oh, wow.
So to go out and do what they call the windshield surveys. So that way there is no lack of communication. Our police officer in the fire truck can communicate directly with the evacuation group so they know and see what's going on.
It's instantaneous.
Yes.
You know, I mean, there's no lag of communication. They're seeing it right then, what needs to happen right now, and getting that comms back.
Right. And something else we're doing, my unit is working with fire department to do what we're calling mini missions. And coming up here in the next few weeks, we're going to hold approximately 18 of these mini missions throughout the city of San Diego. So each of our 9 patrol divisions will have 2 of these missions. And the goal is to get our sergeants out with the battalion chiefs in the community. And we will give them a simulated fire mission. They will have to generate a Genesis response to our communications, and they will do a test of the system. So that way, every step along the way, we're practicing and evaluating our response. And the other nice thing about this is the sergeants are going out in the communities. They work with the battalion chiefs in that community. So that way, if there is a fire, this isn't the first time they're meeting. Right. They actually know each other once they get together.
And that's really helpful too, because so you know how you work, and it kind of seems like seamless. You know, you may be law enforcement, you may be fire, but we've talked about this before. It's go time. There's no questions. It's just, you know, let's go and we'll work seamlessly. You know, we keep talking about the Cedar Fire in 2003 because obviously it was so devastating here, and we've learned a lot from that. But, you know, we can't, when we talk about wildfires, we have to talk about the Palisades fire and, you know, lessons that were learned, things that went great, things that could work better. So let's talk about that next after the break. Welcome back. And now I think it's really important that we talk about the Palisades fire and how maybe San Diego can compare and how it differentiates as far as what we've learned from that. It was a catastrophic fire, and there was extreme wind, dry conditions, unique topography, and intricate roadways that made it hard for first responders to save lives and protect properties. But when you think about it, La Jolla, as an example, has a similar residential landscape, and a lot of great firefighting work went into fighting that fire and saving lives. But also there was a ton of criticism that continues to surround the response to the Palisades fire. The problem wasn't putting the fire out in so much that it was communications, command structure, logistics, and interagency coordination. I think it's important when we think about this, what are some of the policies or conversations that have shifted or changed since the Palisades fire here in San Diego?
I will start on the fire side. For myself, I think it's had us go back and take a look at some of our pre-mapping that we already have, right? Areas of concern that we have throughout San Diego. As the fire chief, there's multiple areas that I have of concern. And so it was more looking back inward for ourselves. How can we get better? Where can we get better in our mapping? Where can we get better in our fire predictions and as we go through it? And how can we bolster our workforce to be better at it? And then on the PD side for us, like Wadhams was talking about here, is that starting adding more drills in to hone in on where we think we have deficiencies, where we could get better, looking at how the Palisades fire went or the Eaton fire went. So it was more looking back inward on how we can get better at things on the fire department side for sure.
And on the police department side, similarly, we just want to continue to evolve use technology to our benefit and to the benefit of the people and the public. And the continuous training, because this is a perishable skill. If we don't have our sergeants and officers out training, they're not going to know what to expect when it's game day. So we want our sergeants out there meeting with the battalion chiefs, knowing what to expect and how to react when the fires kick off.
I think, again, this just goes back to have this unified effort and to consistently have these trainings with everyone involved, so when it is go time, you can work seamlessly together.
Yeah, if I could, I would actually say if you look at our county wildland drill that we run with that now PD is involved with for multiple years now, that's a regional thing. It's not just a San Diego PD, San Diego Fire thing. It's a Cal Fire. It's everybody from Imperial Valley up that we train with to ensure we get better at. So those things that come from the Palisades and the Eden were brought into this year's drill that we had with over 300 plus personnel working in there for us to grow together.
And Kevin, you kind of touched on it on the police side. Have there been any conversations or training to focus on any chain of command holdups at all?
I think as a department, we're really good at delegating our authority, because it's the sergeants out in the field or the field lieutenant that will be responding first. So we're able to delegate that authority to the proper level and really trust our personnel to make the right decisions, because we can't wait for decisions to be made at an executive level when time is really short.
Time is of the essence. I think, we've had such an important conversation here today. I love the perspective and to be able to see you both working together to make sure that when it's happening, it kind of goes unnoticed in that sense. But as we kind of wrap up this conversation, what do you still think that maybe needs to be done in the future to continue to protect lives, protect homes?
I think that we need to continue working as one team. And the work that we're doing, it's evident in how there's a number of fires now, but the fire department is able to fight those fires with us being able to take that element off of their plate with the evacuations.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. We continue in our growth together, working together, both between San Diego Fire, San Diego PD, and as an operational area for us together. I think for us, too, is we need to ensure that the public understands, Wadhams was talking about a second ago, is that go to a trusted source. Go to a trusted source to find your information as you move forward. Because the biggest thing for me, it was the Sereno Fire and multiple fires that we've been on. When people pull from sources that aren't provided by us, it puts us down a road where we're trying to make up for something that's untrue out there. So download your Genesis app, Alert San Diego, those ones that are there, because that's what you need. That's what we need, is that trusted source of information.
I want to go where the police are telling me I need to go, or where the fire department's telling me to go. So thank you so much. I'm so glad that, again, that we had this conversation. People can have a better perspective of, how you guys work together and collaborate. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.